Hello everyone, welcome to the Scumdogs Kennel. I'm your host, Chris Williams, and in today's Cryptid Corner mini-episode, today I have two out there stories that are truly baffling. In the first story, we have a evil grinning alien entity. And in the next story, we have yet another account of the Mothman, or an entity that is very much like the Mothman, folks. Let's get into the first article. Grinning alien entity with a wand-like weapon terrorizes witness in bedroom encounter. In 2012, at an undisclosed location, a longtime ufology and paranormal researcher experienced a terrifying bedroom encounter with a grinning humanoid entity that appeared to carry a small wand-like device. The witness states that the being entered the room while he was still awake, reacted angrily upon being seen, then apparently immobilized and silenced him before a bright white light and a blackout occurred. So, this grinning entity wasn't so happy when he realized he was being seen, folks. That's kind of funny. Either way, let's get into this. Case type, bedroom entity encounter, possible alien abduction, possible intrusive non-human intelligence. Date 2012. Time, late night. Location undisclosed. Primary witness, ZNS. Entity description, small to medium humanoid, black uniform, horned head, insect-like and reptilian or demonic features, sharp metallic-looking teeth, exaggerated grin. Associated phenomena, footsteps, paralysis, inability to scream, bright white light, blackout, possible missing time, continued nocturnal visitations. Object observed, pin or wand type device, possibly used to paralyze, silence, or incapacitate the witness. After effects, long-term fear, inability to sleep normally at night, removal of bedroom mirror due to intuitive concern, belief that visitations continued. Let's read the actual account of the witness now. I have been reading your blog since 2005. I have also been involved in ufology, paranormal research, and Gnostic studies since the late 1990s. For years, I have studied these subjects from the outside. I never thought I would become a victim or witness myself. To this day, I still do not know why I was visited in 2012. It happened late at night as I was getting into bed. I was not asleep when it started. I had just settled in and was laying on my side, facing the wall, when I suddenly heard a footstep on my wooden floor. The sound reminded me of my dogs walking across the floor, the way their claws click against wood. I think whatever it was in the room, I believed I was asleep. When I turned around to see what was there, it seemed visibly upset they had seen it. I was instantly horrified. Standing in my room was a humanoid-looking being that I can only describe as part demon, part alien, and part dinosaur. It had a horrible grin, the most evil grin I could imagine. I will never forget the sharp razor-like teeth. They looked almost metallic. The being had sharp fingernails, and in one hand it held something that looked like a pin or a wand. It appeared to be some type of weapon or control device. Its head had horns, but it also had insect-like features. The overall impression was not human. It was wearing clothing, a black one-piece uniform with a turtleneck-style collar. There was also a strange symbol on the uniform, which we've heard about before, folks, in which alien beings wear outfits. Sometimes, basically, we'll have stories of gray aliens with high collars and capes, along with some sort of metallic outfit. In this case, we have this almost bizarre military-style uniform, I would say, folks. At least that's what I'm imagining. Basically, clothing this insect reptilian thing. I mean, it had demonic features, but also looked like basically a combination of an insectoid and a reptilian, which is maybe a very interesting subject and thing to basically see with this case, folks. It sounds like basically maybe this entity, maybe he was a shapeshifter and he was form changing, and maybe this is what this man saw, but he doesn't mention that the entity was actually, changing form, does he? He just says that it looked like an insect, reptilian-like thing. Either way, let's continue. I was completely paralyzed. I tried to scream or yell for help, but no sound came out. There was absolute silence that terrified me even more than the paralysis. The next thing I remember was a very bright white light. Then I blacked out. When I woke up, about 15 minutes had passed. I was terrified and could not go back to sleep. I imagine that he couldn't, folks, wondering what exactly happened. Either way, here's a picture the witness had made of this particular entity, folks. And as you can see, concerning it was in a corner, at least in this picture, folks, that's something we basically have seen before, folks, where these entities are just mysteriously, when they're seen in corners. Sometimes they're seen coming in through the door to the room. Sometimes they're just right beside them, the witness, while they're on the bed, folks. Here, this entity appears to basically be in the room with with the witness, but was it really in the corner? Here's another picture he did of this entity, folks, and yeah, it does look, somewhat like an insect crossed over with a lizard-like entity, folks. But those teeth, wow, talk about that. If you saw that, you'd be terrified. Not to mention the fact that this entity was green. It reminds me of basically, Indrid Cold, the Green Man. Could this black, demonic, looking reptilian insect being be related to the Grinning Man phenomena? I would not be surprised. Either way, let's continue now. That encounter changed my life. I did not sleep properly at night for a decade afterward, and I am still unable to sleep normally at night. That same day, I removed a mirror from my room because I had a strange feeling that it was somehow connected to what had happened. I believe I had been visited since, but now they only come when I am asleep. They do not allow me to remember what happens. I feel alone and defenseless against them every night. I also have the feeling that this has been happening since I was a child. They could take me whenever they want. I could go missing at any time. I tried to draw what I saw the day after the encounter, but I had trouble recalling the details. The only thing I could clearly remember was the grin. Thanks for reading Z and S. Now, what was this entity, folks? Was or is it related to the Grinning Man phenomena? Is it related to Indrid Cold? Maybe this is Indrid Cold's true form? Was it also a cyborg, folks? Remember, Z and S mentioned that the teeth almost looked metallic. Maybe this was a robotic entity, much like the gray aliens have been basically specified to be some sort of bioandroids. Maybe this was also some type of bioandroid, but with more mechanical parts inserted, or basically, implanted into its body. It almost reminds me of another alien encounter in which the witness meets this humanoid being that had black eyes and antennae growing out of basically a blonde-haired, rather normal-looking human man, but with a robotic appendage on the right arm, or maybe the left arm, folks. Except in this case, this entity, instead of having basically an obvious robotic body part, had metallic teeth. Could that be true? Maybe. Either way, let's move on to the next story now, folks, and talk about this one afterward. Ohio truck driver hits bat-winged creature near Chesterland, and read yet another encounter of a possible Mothman account, and read exactly how this man could have basically hit Mothman with his vehicle. Let's get into it now. In the summer of 2016, a newspaper delivery driver traveling west on Route 322 near Chesterland, Ohio, reported a frightening, early morning encounter with a large bat-winged humanoid. The witness claimed the creature struck the box of his Freightliner truck, dropped behind the vehicle, then stood upright, looked at him with fiery orange red eyes, and flew away, and I would imagine at that point incredibly angry. This report matters because it contains several recurring elements found in winged humanoid cases: a rural or semi-rural road, late-night fog, road level flight, red or orange eyes, a witness frozen in fear, and a physical impact that may have left trace evidence. Indeed. But I don't think the witness actually followed up with basically collecting this trace evidence. If only he had done something with it. But sadly, he was just an ordinary man, folks. But then again, all that was really left behind was an impact crater from this entity hitting the ground, I think. At least that's what I basically feel with this story when I basically looked at a bit of it. Either way, let's continue. Case file. Date, summer 2016. Date and time, approximately 3:45 a.m. Location near Chesterland, Ohio. Roadway, Route 322, also known locally as Mayfield Road. County, Geauga County, Ohio. Witness, male, truck driver, age 32 at the time. Vehicle, Freightliner, box truck, carrying newspapers. Any description: large, dark-winged figure, approximately 6 feet tall, bat-like wings, orange-red eyes. Encounter type: roadside aerial encounter with vehicle impact. Physical evidence claimed: imprint in dirt, bugs, and grime on the front of the truck box. Witness reaction: shock, fear, paralysis, and later recurring unease while driving the same route. I would imagine their witness would basically be uneasy with driving the route where he encountered this thing. But then again, I didn't realize that basically this entity left bugs and grime on, the truck box where it had hit the actual vehicle. Either way, let's continue. Route 322 passes through Chester Township and Chesterland, and local township road information identifies Mayfield Road as US 322 in that area. The road runs through a mix of suburban, wooded, and rural Geauga County terrain, which fits the witness description of hills, fog, and sparse early morning traffic. That's good. And we actually have a location where people can basically visit this road and see exactly I imagine basically traveling along it where this encounter took place. Maybe not the exact place, folks, because he doesn't mention that. But let's now continue. I had an encounter with a winged creature myself, and I even shared the story in a Facebook group that discusses such things. I'm 32 years old and had never seen anything supernatural or alien until last summer. I've always been, and still am, a skeptic. To this day, I try to convince myself that what I saw was just a really big hawk or something, but deep down, I know I'm lying to myself. It was around 3:45 a.m. when I was driving west on Route 322 towards Chesterland, Ohio. I was in a Freightliner box truck with a load of newspapers. In the summer, at night, there's always a layer of fog close to the ground, and the moon was bright and, well, with stars shining above. As I drove about 15 miles per hour through the hills, I saw a dark figure in the moonlight coming right at me. It looked huge, so I slammed on the brakes and instinctively ducked down as I was driving straight toward it. At windshield level, I heard a big thud as a figure flew over the cab and hit the flat aluminum box behind it at probably 40 miles per hour. I kept my foot on the brake and came to a stop on the side of the road, about 75 yards from the impact point. Wondering if it had damaged the top of the box. I got out to take a look. The box wasn't smashed in, so I walked around to the back of the truck, and that's when I saw it in the moonlight, almost as clear as day. This thing was huge. I thought for sure it was dead, but then it suddenly rolled over. That's when I saw its bat-like wings, which were unlike bird wings. It rolled over and stood on two legs, and I estimated it was about 6 feet tall. It looked right at me with its red-orange eyes, and I was instantly frozen in fear. I couldn't move at all. Then it spread its massive wings, jumped up, and flew off. I ran back to the truck and took off toward Chesterland as fast as I could. I spent the rest of the night on edge, trying to rationalize what I had just witnessed. The closest thing I could compare it to was the monster from Jeepers Creepers, but I wasn't close enough to see its facial features or any details. I distinctly remember the 6-foot-tall, bat-winged figure with orange-red eyes. Even 6 months later, every time I drive that route, I feel uneasy. I imagine our witness here, as I said earlier, would feel that. This entity probably, maybe, keeps a grudge against this man, and if he did meet it again, I would not basically want to be in this man's shoes at all, though I doubt that will ever happen. We've read of a few accounts where basically entities get nearly hit by people's cars, folks, so this is the first where maybe this entity was actually hit for once by it. But let's continue. When I responded to inquiries about the encounter, I said the truck wasn't damaged, but when I arrived at the gas station in Chesterland, I could see that something large had hit the box. There was an imprint in the dirt, along with dead bugs and grime that had collected on the front of the box. I wanted to crawl up on top of the cab to get a better look and see if there was any blood or hair that that could provide evidence of whatever it was, but I would have needed a ladder and someone to help me. I inspected it well with a flashlight, but didn't find anything other than the imprint. As far as the creature itself goes, the thing that stood out to me the most was its eyes. I'll never forget how mesmerizing the fiery orange color was. It almost felt like it could see into my soul. The encounter lasted only a couple of seconds before it jumped up and flew off, but I felt some sort of connection with it, even though I was terrified. I am about to leave for the same route I was on that night. I still remember exactly where the encounter took place. When I go through there tonight, I'll try to find the closest crossroads or something that can help me pinpoint exactly where it was on a map M. So maybe we'll have a follow-up with this story, folks, and we'll basically have a picture of exactly where this encounter took place, folks. As I said, the closest thing we have here, folks, is maybe the bugs and grime on this box. Maybe this was more than just bugs and grime. Perhaps that grime had blood or some other biological samples in it, folks. Maybe coming from this entity. I mean, it's kind of a faint hope, but I could basically see that actually happening. Either way, it's something to consider, folks, isn't it? But what about both accounts? Do you think that they're reliable? I think both stories are indeed real and the witnesses are indeed reliable, folks. Either way, we're now at the end, so please go subscribe to my YouTube channel, Read Comics They're Bad For You. You can use the YouTube link down below in the descriptions of the chat to go subscribe me. Hit that like button for me. Make sure you're still subscribed. Leave some comments down below. Hit that bell for notifications. Hit the part of the bell that'll give you all future notifications. And please, share this video out. I'm Chris Williams from the Scumdogs Kennel. Thank you all for joining me. I'll be back again tomorrow with another great video, so be sure to come back again then. Until next time, folks, I'll see you all again soon.